Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Registered Ranching Podcast. Got a full podcast room today and a pretty cool new deal that we've got coming up for the R.A. Brown Ranch with a group of friends and coworkers and businesses that we really trust and have been working with for the past 5 years. 4 years?
Yeah, 4 years.
4 years to get this brought to you. We've mentioned it a few times in the podcast before, but today we're going to give you the deep dive in something we're really excited about. But a few guys that I need to welcome to the podcast for the first time, CJ Blue and Blake Angel. Thanks for joining the podcast today. I got to give you all a little round of applause here. I got the buttons. You can press the buttons. and of course Donald for the fourth or fifth time. You're becoming a local. What's the right word?
He's a legend already.
A legend already, yeah, sure. He's becoming a one that likes to come to the show quite a bit. That's been welcome to the show quite a bit.
And we're glad to have these guys live in studio audience.
Yeah, of course. We have a peanut gallery.
Oh, we do, absolutely, yes. Becky and Claire Blue with us all the way from Kansas, live studio audience today. Willie Wardle, I mean, it's a great crew.
You're looking official with that headset on, Willie, over there. Oh, and he doesn't have a mic, so I can say whatever, and he can't respond. No, but Ranchers Sustainable Angus Alliance. Donald, tell us more. We're going to dive deep into this, and how cool is it that we're able to.
Hey, we're going public. I mean, that's what it is amount to. We have alluded to it. We've mentioned it by name, Ranchers Sustainable Angus, but now we're going public with Ranchers Sustainable Angus Alliance. And with that, I have two of our members with us to talk about it, and we're launching the calf buyback program for your calves to go into Ranchers Sustainable Angus, and it's an exciting day. So, yeah. Gosh, CJ, you were from the very beginning, right? I mean, we started on this. It's now been over 4 years since we had that first meeting to get this thing launched. What are the things in the history, that kind of the beginning stages that you remember? And then we'll get into the details of how our customers are really going to benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so it was 4 years ago, and it's hard to believe it's been that long, Donald. But really, what it started out with was a group of seed stock suppliers and genetic suppliers that said, how do we create more value for our customers? How do we add value to their calves? And we really were looking for a way just to create market access. And so whenever we got together, we had a lot of conversation about how we do that. And at the time, sustainability continued to come up. That was at the forefront. There was a lot of stuff with respect to ESG and other things that we were having conversations about.
Yeah, now help me remember what ESG stands for.
Environmental.
Now, I remember too, right? But we're talking those acronyms all the time. But, bottom line is the people focused on making our world a better place. And how can we in ranching help that?
Exactly. And so we still believe that we have an opportunity to not only tell the sustainability story, but maybe begin to quantify some of the claims that we can make with respect to sustainability and environmental stewardship, that kind of thing. But what was interesting as we began to talk about a supply chain and visit with retailers and visit with folks throughout the supply chain, what we heard back was, hey, we just want transparency in the supply chain. We really want one end to talk to the other. And so our vision today is that we're going to have a supply chain that starts at conception and goes all the way to retail with transparency from one end to the other. And we're still working on the pieces of that. But the most exciting thing is we've got a feeding partner in Cobalt that says, hey, let's just start buying cattle. Let's just get some cattle in. Let's start buying cattle, which is the exciting thing. That if you're a customer of and I should back up. There's 9 members in Ranchers Sustainable Angus Alliance today. But if you're a customer of one of the 9 members, if you buy bulls, if you buy genetics or females from any of those customers, your cattle then qualify to get into the RSA supply chain.
Yep, and that's what it's about. It's about us as a group of genetic providers, of seed stock producers to help our customers capture more value for their genetics. And, all right, ESG, I looked it up to make
Thank
sure
you.
we got it right.
Yeah,
Okay, environmental, social, and governance.
Thank you. Yeah.
Right?
I thought of that after you asked me. But
But we have wanted, our number one goal here at R.A. Brown Ranch has been to improve the profitability and the sustainability of our customers. That's been our goal for decades. And this is just another step in the pathway to really help connect ranchers to retailers and get it all the way to the consumer. A great Angus premium choice and prime product, all right, similar specs to certified Angus beef, but both colors of Angus.
yes.
And in all reality, that was part of the motivating factor, right, CJ? And Blake, you worked for the Red Angus Association for a number of years. Now 17 years as a cattle buyer, a fed cattle buyer, and working on the meat side of things, but also raising both colors of Angus. That was a motivating factor for us to get those premium prices for both colors of Angus. And yet we have producers as part of our team, Lundgren Angus being one of those, that has more black Angus than red Angus. But it's about Angus, the word, the breed, the quality of cattle, regardless of color, that brings that premium choice and prime, wonderful eating experience with a sustainability story. And that's the story behind the steaks of the people that are actually out there taking care of the land, taking care of the environment, taking care of our social needs in our communities and things like that. And I think that's a story that consumers are going to love.
Well, I agree, and I think that's one of the reasons that, I think the interest is absolutely there for us to be able to. And that's why the relationship with retail, I think, is critical, because their consumers are asking for that story. I think the consumer wants to know more and more every day, and that's just part of that transparency from end to end that I talked about, right? So.
Absolutely. We have so many friends that are generational ranches, and there's a lot of generational transfer happening right now. Our family went through it 12 years ago, and it's been such a blessing, and we're thankful for it. And Blake, your family has made a transition here recently, and now you're back at the ranch, and we are loving those success stories where family gets the opportunity to keep the ranch in the family and the family in the ranch. Tell us just a little bit more about Lundgren Angus and how, just a little bit of your history with the meat side of the business too.
Yeah, well, thanks first, Donald and Tucker, for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to be a part of this. Lundgren Angus Ranch is actually my wife's family's operation. My wife is fourth generation. Her great-grandmother homesteaded in western Kansas in the fall of 1900. It must have been pretty then. There's times it hasn't been quite as pretty. But as we sit here in the middle of June of 2025, we're probably having one of the best years, moisture-wise, that we've had in a long, long time.
Awesome.
The grass is green, the cows are fat, and things look really, really good. So we are in the midst of transitioning. My wife and I are taking the lead on the cow herd. We do have registered black and red Angus cattle both. Have a bull sale in February. And so prior to that, I guess to give a little bit of background, and you'd mentioned it earlier, Donald, I was on staff at the Red Angus Association back in the late 90s and early 2000s. And with the feeder calf program, that was as a commercial marketing director, it was my objective to try to add value to red Angus sired calves through that yellow ear tagging system. And back then it was a struggle. We were fortunate.
Still some of us struggle today.
Well, it's still a struggle today, no doubt. But back then we had a relationship with XL, which turned Cargill, and they had a upper 2/3 non-black hided program called Sterling Silver that the red Angus cattle could qualify for. But it wasn't Angus, and the premium wasn't equal to certified Angus beef. So you were still secondary, even though we had looked at carcass data upon carcass data upon carcass data and had documented time and time again that there really was, from a carcass value, carcass spec standpoint, there really was not much difference between red Angus and black Angus cattle once you got the hide off and got the cooler in the plant. And
can you tell if it's red or black Angus after the hide's off?
Only based on the stamp that they put on the USDA, the grade person puts on the stamp on the kill floor. But no, that was the thing that the data showed us. And there was an Angus Pride product that they had back then that the yellow tagged cattle could qualify for, but that was it was an Angus program, and that was the one Angus program that the cattle would qualify for at that point in time. Fast forward today, there's some really exciting things happening, and this Ranchers Sustainable Angus Alliance, the relationship that has pulled like-minded seed stock producers together, with the end goal, and I will say that Donald, you referenced that our objective is to help our customers receive more value. I think the secondary goal, if we look at where we are in June of 2025, record high cattle prices across the board, record high meat prices, and then let's take a look at beef demand, right? With the price levels that we have on meat and livestock right now, you would think there would be justification for the consumer to be pushing back on these prices. And yet they continue to come to the grocery store and fill their carts with beef. And I attended Colorado State University back in the 90s when we did our first beef quality assurance audit led by Dr. Gary Smith. And what did that tell us? 1 in 4 steaks ate terrible. The eating experience that the consumer was experiencing was bad. Only 25% of the time. 25% of the time they wanted to throw the product in the trash, basically. And
that's not a good record.
And what did we try to do? We tried to make our product lean and compete with chicken and pork.
Right.
What are we doing today? We have an inclusion rate or an infusion rate of Angus genetics in our cattle population that is, there's all kinds of numbers thrown around, but it's significantly high. And if you look at record high prices, record high demand, what are we also doing? Record high levels of choice and prime graded product. And when you look at national retail chains that are carrying exclusively choice product in their grocery stores, and beef demand is doing what it's done, I think we as an industry have finally embraced what some of us have always preached about, is that beef is not a commodity product.
That's right.
It's
quality.
It's a quality product. It's a quality eating experience, and we've embraced that, and we've moved forward with that. So ultimately, I think part of what Ranchers Sustainable Angus Alliance is designed to do is help our producers benefit from the genetics they're utilizing in their breeding programs based on working with the group of seed stock producers that are the founding members. But I think we also are in a position to try to meet the growing demand of the consumer who is looking for that exceptional eating experience with beef every time they put it in their grocery cart or order it when they're out at a restaurant.
It's amazing, Blake, in the last 15 years alone, or 16 years, and they continue to do that beef quality audit every 5 years. I was a part of that one just a few years ago in 2020, and I was amazed at how much we've improved it. You look at just 16 years ago, and we were at 55% choice and better. Mm-hmm. And today we're about 84% choice and better. Right. Prime was only 3%. Now we're 4 times that at 12% prime. What great quality, and that people get concerned about the value of beef, but the value has gone up because the quality has gone up.
So let me tell you a little story, and I've shared this with a few people, and I would like to think that maybe somewhere in my files and records, I might have kept a copy of this and maybe I didn't realize the significance of it at the time. But when I was with the Red Angus Association and we were working with Cargill, we had a grid in place that paid premiums to producers and I think back then, Donald, the spec on our grid was 65% choice.
That was par.
Anything that you graded above 65% choice, you got an additional premium based on what the Choice Select spread was that particular week. I can remember very vividly, and that was getting to be a long time ago based on the shade of my mustache and hair. I remember very vividly having to call, and if I'm not mistaken, it might, and I'm not going to mention them by name, but it might very well have been one of the founding members of RSAA that I had to call and try to explain to them why his 85% grading cattle,
That's 85% choice.
85% choice and prime grading cattle, received less than the market.
Wow.
And you know why it was?
Why is
Because that particular week, the choice select spread was negative.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Doesn't happen very often.
I don't remember the last time we've seen a single digit
Right.
choice select
We
spread.
were close
now.
last week. Now we're back up to about $14 premium choice over prime. And then that premium choice, certified Angus beef, those premiums get bigger. Prime premium is big time.
Yep. And so, I mean, I think it's just, it's really an exciting time. Obviously, we don't have to reiterate the fact that we're at a 70-year low cow herd inventory number. And so the genetic impact that we're making right now and the potential that we have to impact the future cow herd as it does grow, and it may not grow to levels that we've seen in the past, but we think that there is some growth coming. We have the ability to really influence that base cow herd going forward, and through that, and through the genetic selection that we're doing, and the genetic opportunities that this group is providing to customers, to just further enhance and further solidify the value and the quality of beef product we're putting in front of the consumers of the United States and around the world. And obviously, we're very, very appreciative of all of those folks because we couldn't do any of this without their support.
That's right.
Absolutely. And we got to give thanks to Certified Angus Beef, too.
Absolutely.
The CAB is the most successful marketing program in the history of our industry. And, rising tide rises all ships. And visited with John Stick and Bruce Cobb just the other day and shared with them our press release. Yeah, thank you. I was trying to get the words out there. Our press release. And Stick, I was just so amazed at how positive he was about how we need to continue to drive quality. And this sells both colors of Angus. So it drives demand for Black Angus and Red Angus. And we're going to continue to grow Ranchers Sustainable Angus Alliance with more members, with people raising Black Angus cattle to help grow our supply of cattle.
Yeah.
That's one thing that the packer absolutely needs to have.
They do, and I think that's one of the good things about this alliance, Donald, is that it's not just one seed stock supplier. It started out with 9, and there's 9 of us today, and we, our vision is that the demand for this grows to the point where we invite others into this, and we can add to this and make it as big as we needed to make it. So that's kind of the beauty.
But the quality's got to be there, right?
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
Not just come on, join our team. The quality's got to be there. The cattle have got to work. And we got to have that sustainability story, and that starts with beef quality assurance at the ranch of making sure that the producers providing and raising the cattle, literally raising the stakes, are raising the bar at the level of producing cattle with all the integrity and all the commitment we can to take care of the animals, to take care of the land, to take care of the water, and all of our natural resources.
It's a stewardship thing. I mean, it truly is. It's from land to and animal welfare. All of that goes into this. And no, that is our vision. You're right. Yep.
And Blake, you were talking about choice and prime. Tucker, I talked to Reed Sibley yesterday. And, Reed's got a great herd of hybrid black baldy cows, primarily there around Amarillo. And he called me, he said, hey, got our carcass data back yesterday, graded 68% prime. Yeah, sired by our bulls. Just so excited about that. Man, those cattle are working really well. And those are the stories that we love to hear. I'm thankful, CJ, that we've got this partner in the cattle feeding industry with Cobalt. Can you tell us a little bit more about Cobalt and what they've got going?
So Cobalt is, I'd consider them one of the majors or one of the big feeders in the U.S. So they're 400 and some thousand head one-time capacity.
Yeah, that's big. I mean, as I understand it, they're one of the 6th largest cattle feeders in the United States.
It is, and so for our group, it's a great partner to have. As we had discussions with. One of the things about the beef industry is the segmentation to it, or silos we might call it, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, the industry evolved to that, I think, to get efficient. But as we talked about consumers kind of wanting to know more, that there's this disconnect a lot of times because those silos are there, and so trying to connect those dots is one of the things that I think has been our priority mainly. That's what we've been working on since we started this, and so the feeder is absolutely a part of that piece. And so whenever we started having conversations with Cobalt, in a way we were able to check the box, right? Because we've got a feeder partner. But the other thing that's really cool about, and what I appreciate about Cobalt is, as we continue to work on, and we visited with multiple retailers, continue to visit with them. But as we're going down that path with retailers and we're thinking about getting the cattle, you don't just, that's the other thing about the cattle industry and the beef industry. You don't just go buy cattle today and have meat tomorrow. That's not how this deal works. And so we've got to get cattle in the supply chain, in the pipeline. And Cobalt, God bless them, said, let's just buy some cattle. Let's start getting cattle. And that's what's great today, because we all got customers now that we can start feeding the supply chain today. We can go get cattle today. So.
And that's what, Tucker, thanks for having us on, because we want to tell all our customers, and that's us, but our members are all over the country. Our seed stock members and our customers are all over the country. We go north to Montana to 5L Red Angus. In Wyoming, we've got Leachman Cattle and Beckton Stock Farms. In Nebraska, we've got Butch Schuler. Kansas, we've got you two guys and Frank Weedle and the Mushrush family.
Yep.
So there's a lot of us in the system here, and that cover a big part of the country.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think the other thing about Cobalt that's going to be very important, and producers, this is something that's always been a little challenging for them to understand, and I had the opportunity to really get exposed to the value of consistent supply 52 weeks a year.
That's big.
And when we go to talking to retailers, and then if you think about the consumer's going to go to the grocery store which day of the week and every week, right? Some folks in this part across the country don't shop like we do out here in the sticks. I've got 3 deep freezes and I've got 2 refrigerators, and when we go to the grocery store, we got to take the Suburban because the back is full when we leave. Yeah. There's a lot of people that may shop groceries 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah, Becky's giving us a big nod in the gallery today. Like, that's the way we do it.
And so if you're going to be hooked up with a retailer and be at least part of their supply of product, you have to be rateable. You have to be there 52 weeks a year.
That's right.
And so bringing somebody like Cobalt into this is a game changer for Ranchers Sustainable Angus Alliance, because they provide, with the capacity that they have the ability to take all of our different customers who are calving cows
a variety of times a year.
Maybe 12 months
it's
a year.
That's right.
And congregate those cattle in such a way that week in and week out, we can put forth product that meets the specs of the consumer that we're selling this product to, the retailer that's providing that product, and have it be rateable. Rateable is the word, right?
Define the word rateable. What do you mean by rateable?
Rateable means you can repeat it. You can be there consistently every week.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
And
so that it's there whenever whatever day or week I go shopping, what I'm looking for is there.
That's what the retailer's going to expect.
Yep.
That's what they're going to ask for.
And that's not easy.
They want all of these extra attributes. They want the quality and the choice and the prime and the sustainability component, and knowing having the transparency to be able to see what we're doing out here. But at the end of the day, if you have all of those claims met, but you don't have product in the meat case, it doesn't matter.
That's right.
Because the consumer doesn't have the ability to come in and buy that product. And so for the consumer and for the retailer partner, this Cobalt thing is an enormous addition to what RSAA is doing that allows us to be able to get to that rateable, the word I use, rateable function, week in and week out, of having product there that the retailer can count on, knowing that supply chain is built. That's the whole purpose of a supply chain, is to know that your raw product that you need is built not just there today because I went out and paid enough to buy it, but that it's there going forward next week, next month, next year.
And the neat part is kind of how all this kind of just fell together by the grace of God is, 2 of our very biggest customers, huge commercial customers that calve a lot more in the fall than most other producers, we're already feeding with cobalt and have relationship with cobalt, and that's huge, again, to get that 52-week supply.
Exactly.
All right, now, Tucker Brown, I'm going to jump to you for just a minute here on your show. I'm going to put you in the hot seat. Can I do that?
Sure.
What is the hot seat?
It's the Ag Gear hot seat.
Ag Gear hot sheet. All right, we got to make sure that, and I'm glad you're wearing Ag Gear today, so
Yeah.
we can get that. You're not going to be too hot.
That's right. Ag Gear keeps you cool. That's why you use code Tucker Brown. Go to Ag Gear online. Get 15% off.
All right, so here's the Ag Gear hot question of the day for you. Here we're talking about having a 52-week supply of beef, and when you came back and brought your family to R.A. Brown Ranch to join the sixth generation of our family, raising the seventh generation, we challenged you to bring a business and build a business. And part of that business has been, one, your social media efforts, and another is selling beef right off of R.A. Brown Ranch. And really, Ranchers Sustainable Angus is just a grander scale of what you're doing. I want you to compare and contrast what that looks like from your perspective. And are you seeing some of the same challenges as on a small scale buying direct from R.A. Brown Ranch?
So are you saying I started RSAA?
Well, in a way, we could say that. I mean, you've been coming to
what-
the meetings from early on, so hey, we'll pat you on the back, buddy.
Sure. Yeah, the 52-week supply thing is tough, but I think selling directly to the CJ made a good point that when somebody calls and they want beef and I say, well, you're going to have to wait 3 months, they go to somebody else.
Yep.
And so having that option that Blake said that you have to have it there, because if it's not available, they go to somebody else, and we're always competing against somebody else, whether that's the quote-unquote commodity beef that you can get at whatever supply chain you go to, or whether it's another branded product like certified Angus beef.
Mm-hmm.
And so having a 52-week supply out of a spring calving herd is pretty tough.
It is tough. That's right.
Pretty tough.
The other thing is to be able to scale it. We do some direct sales too, and the challenge is it's going to be tough for us to go, to sell 1,200 and some cattle a year that way, direct to consumer, and they are all born at once, and so that's one of the reasons why like I said, the beef industry is segmented the way it is. I think it's been designed that way to be able to meet that supply 52 weeks a year, but.
Yeah, and I find it important that those options are available for consumers, because I think that's helped demand. Because they don't have to go to another product.
Right.
They don't have to go to a chicken. They're not forced to go to pork, because that availability of beef is there. And I think that's why a reason that demand has been so high.
Well, I'm going to say the first time in all of our lifetimes that we can ever remember the food shelves being empty was COVID.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that is something that's etched in my memory forever. And so think about that. If we're selling a branded product, we want to make sure it's there every week.
Yep.
So they aren't coming there seeing an empty shelf. And that's where this whole scalability of, it's not just one ranch, it's 9 ranches to start, and we can scale that big time with other like-minded seed stock producers.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I find it cool. I think there's a whole lot more, like the consumer has more of an opportunity to learn, if they want to, through branded products and through traceability. And I think that's part of why, this local purchasing has been a larger thing in the past 5 years, because they want to know, and the quickest place they can go to learn that is their local buyer, their local producer. Still a small part of the chain. I mean, 5%, I think, of beef. One of y'all may know the exact number, but I think it's around 5% of all beef in the U.S. is sold direct to consumer, and so that's really small.
Right.
Even though it's grown a ton, it's still only
real small.
Still really small. And whenever people say, there's a big movement, we're going back to local, and we're going to save our ranchers, and I love all that. I like it when people buy local, but it's just incredibly important to have that supply available for those who go to the store 4 days a week, like Blake mentioned. And because there's way more of those people than there are that have the 2 freezers full of beef, and deer or whatever you want to fill it with.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's exactly right. And I'm really excited that our people that put our logo together happened to put Tucker Brown, the famous Tucker Brown, and our oldest granddaughter, Rayleigh Ann Brown, on the logo. So
See, I didn't even know this, Donald. When
you didn't know that was Tucker and Rayleigh?
No, when you told me that this morning, I was concerned because Tucker is very famous, and I'm concerned that now we're gonna owe him something because his image.
I just want a little piece of every sale.
Yeah.
is all.
name, image, and likeness. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
Okay, as we were shifting gears, Blake, you have been a cattle buyer for many years for a branded program. Tell us a little bit more about what that's like, and how do you see that relative to Ranchers Sustainable Angus as we move forward?
Yeah, and I think I had opportunity to learn a great deal about the industry in the previous role that I had, going from Red Angus Association, and then I transitioned to the Meyer Natural Angus program, where I spent actually a little over 18 years.
Oh my goodness! Okay,
that's where this whole rateable thing, the conversations that we had when I was there with Meyer, in talking to retailers, is the ability to have that product available to them. Now, there's ebb and flows, right? I mean, there's times throughout the year where we move more beef, and other times we move less. And so, as you adjust to the flow of the product,
and that's where a big company like Cobalt can help, right?
Absolutely, yeah, because
and
they
some
can
people
stage
going right off
cattle
the cow, and some people making yearlings out of them, going to grass or wheat to help spread that supply to hit the demand.
Yeah, especially when you think about 60-70% of the U.S. cow herd calves in basically a 90-100-day window.
Yep,
right.
springtime.
And so you've got to transition, 2/3 of the cow herds being born in a third of the year to be able to make sure you got product 52 weeks. And so that was, for us, it was, my title was cattle buyer, but it was really supply chain management is really what we did, right? We had feeding partners, just like what we've entered into with Cobalt here at RSAA. You have feeding partners, and then you communicate with them the target needs week in and week out, month in and month out, far enough in advance so that they can go out and help you put together the volume of cattle that you need each and every week, right? And then you sit back and you let that partner do what they do best. Cobalt. Yeah. We need X number of fat cattle with these specs at this time, and then you turn the ball over to them, realizing you have a partnership, you have a commitment to one another, and you let CJ. You talked about the silos.
Silos, you're talking about different segments of the
industry.
Cow calf, stocker, feeder,
so let the seed stock guys do their part.
Yep.
Let the cow calf guys do their part, and ultimately you bring in a partner like Cobalt, and you let them do their part, which is managing those cattle in such a way that when they're fat and ready to go to the packing plant, it's a consistent product and it's a consistent flow of volume each and every week based on the needs that are defined by RSAA and the retail partners that we're working with. So supply chain management is critical. Because again, it's the ability to make sure that retailer has confidence knowing that the product is in the system and that it'll be there. Now, I can also tell you that when on the meat sales side, if you don't manage your meat properly, it'll start stinking in about a week.
Oh, that's not good.
Okay? So, when you talk to meat sales people, if they have the opportunity to sell meat tomorrow, they want to make the sale.
Yep.
And so they call you on the supply chain and say, we need more tomorrow. I said, now you remember what we've discussed here, right? Right?
Yeah.
The average age of the animal that hits the packing plant is about 18 months.
Yep.
Right? And at Meyer, it was a natural program. So natural from birth. So when the salespeople would respond to me like that, I would say, okay, here's the deal. You tell me what you need 24 months from now, and I will guarantee you I'll have it.
That's all it takes.
That's all I need.
They want to buy it
24
tomorrow.
months.
No,
Well,
today.
right. And so the ability to have the product, have a supply chain that allows for that consistent volume, and there's going to be ebb and flows, and you do your best you can, right? The one thing that we are doing, I think that's important with Ranchers Sustainable Angus Alliance is we're not looking to go out and make our own brand.
Right.
That's right.
On the beef, right?
Right.
Because again, we talked about Cobalt doing their part. They're the cattle feeder. They know what they're doing. They concentrate on their part. The retailer is selling beef, right? They've established a customer. A lot of these retailers have their own brand, in-house brands.
For all kinds of products.
For all kinds of products. And the consumer, when they find a positive experience with that brand, that retailer then pulls that consumer back in to buy that product.
It's a new era in branding, right?
It absolutely is, and it's house branding. It's a lot of house branding, and so when you're working with a retailer, when we get our retail partners put together here, we're not going to have the ability for a consumer to go in and find Ranchers Sustainable Angus Alliance beef, right? We're going to be part of the system so that the retail partners that we have, this product is going to flow into that house branded product that their consumers are building loyalty to.
And as we've talked over really the last 2.5 years, CJ, that we've been working with retailers, they love the idea of being able to share that sustainability story.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, Donald. I mean, and Blake, you spoke to it exactly. You know, then that's part of, and it is part of the supply chain. But that's one of the things that the retailer and the consumer is asking for. I mean, they're asking for that story, and that's one of the, you know, we can provide that. We'll be able to give that story because we're going to have transparency all the way back to the ranch level, back to consent. The other thing that I think that we can provide value to those retailers for, Blake, and you spoke to it exactly, was just, you know, that line of sight to what that supply chain is going to be. I mean, to help them know what they've got coming. We're going to have predictability in these cattle. I mean, that's the other thing. With that transparency that that the industry has not typically had is that data flow. I mean, just to put predictability in what that product's going to do at every stage in the supply chain. I talked about those silos, but at every stage we'll have predictability in what those, because we're collecting that data and it's all flowing through the system. And I think that's going to be a huge change. That'll
be huge because the consumer is going to know where their food comes from.
Right.
And through COVID, that told us that they love that. They want to know that.
Exactly. Yep.
And I think that builds that trust and that brand loyalty. And I want to go back to Cobalt feeders for just a minute. They've got plants in Kansas, Colorado, Texas Panhandle, and what's so exciting to me is in visiting with Joel Jarnigan and visiting. We're going to meet with them today in Whit West. What they have committed to is that they will buy the calves, right, or yearlings. Now, they need to be weaned at least 45 days because that helps those cattle transition so much easier with better health and immunity, and they ready to go to feed, they do better.
Yep.
That's all a part of a sound, functional system. Now, for some of our cow-calf guys, they may go, well, I've been selling them right off the cow, and we understand that. But you might need to look at finding a partner that can help you background those calves for 45 days to build that immunity, to get them through that weaning process to help make all that happen.
Exactly.
But what's neat is they're willing to take these cattle, at least weaned at least 45 days, vaccinated, buy the cattle from us, and not only buy them, but give us the opportunity to partner if we want to retain some ownership.
Right.
If we want to retain half or a quarter or three-quarter ownership, hey, they're game. They'll do that. And I love that opportunity. They'll even help us get some hedge or protection on those, price protection on those cattle. I mean, that's full service.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about that. But, CJ, what excites me even more, or do you want to talk about this? What they're willing to go above and beyond that?
Well, I'll probably I'll forget something, and you'll have to help me, okay? But the biggest key with that, and I talked about the transparency in the supply chain, and talked about the flow of data and that kind of thing. But maybe even the biggest one is just
and this may be the biggest news story of the year.
Yes, but our ability to be able to get a premium back to the ranch, back to where those cattle started. and to share those premiums back. And that's the vision. Without what we want to do is create demand for the genetics, to create demand for these cattle, have a supply chain that provides, that gives that demand and then shares that premium and those dollars all the way back. And Cobalt's given us an opportunity to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, they're willing to share, whatever those cattle make over break even.
Yes.
And I just got off the phone with Joel, and he's going to be here any minute now, but I just got off the phone with him to make sure I'm saying this right.
Yeah, well, that's why I want you to tell it.
But he said they will buy the cattle. They'll buy 100% or 25% or 75 or whatever percent in that ballpark that you want to sell. They assume all the risk of what they buy, and what those cattle return back in profits, they're willing to share a big percentage of that back with the rancher.
Above and beyond break even.
Above and beyond what they paid for the cattle up front.
Right.
That is revolutionary.
Yes.
And I'm so excited about that. But even better is, hey, there are times when things happen and those cattle in the feed yard don't make money.
That's right.
They're not going to send you a bill.
Yep.
They're going to give you the upside potential with no downside risk. You get paid for the cattle as weaned calves or yearlings when you get them off of your place and have that upside potential. And man, when they can hit the grid and feed more efficiently,
right?
Because that's another part of a lot of us in the Ranchers Sustainable Angus are feed efficiency testing these bulls. Blake, you've been testing some of your bulls, right?
Yeah, we've been testing all of our bulls now for about 5 years.
Yeah. And we're getting close to a decade. It's exciting to see the difference where cattle can do more with less.
Exactly.
And to me, that is a great definition for sustainability, to be able to do more with less. And so the opportunity, the upside potential that Cobalt, our cattle feeding partner with Ranchers Sustainable Angus, is providing our customers, the people that buy our genetics, a great opportunity.
Yes, they are. Good partnership.
That's what it's all about. And,
It is.
Really, sustainability, I mean, we've all got to be able to make a living. That to me is sustainability. Financial is part of sustainability.
Yes, it is.
We all need to make a living. Hey, I gave big credit to CAB earlier. I'm going to give big credit and shout out to 44 Farms and Prime Pursuits, and they've done a great job of kind of laying the groundwork of this from the ranch all the way through Walmart to the retailer, and we're following a similar path. But man, I'm really excited to share this upside potential with our customers that are raising the cattle.
Yeah, no, Donald, I had a mentor of mine once that told me all the best ideas he ever had were ideas that he stole from somebody. So
borrowed, maybe borrowed.
There we go. I like that word. Yeah.
What percent of cattle producers at the commercial sector do you think? What percent know how their cattle perform when it comes to the grid?
No, that'd be just a guess, but it's low. It's low,
I think
Tucker.
that's the main point.
It is. I'm going to go with low.
Yeah.
Good answer. Is
Yeah.
that your final answer?
Yeah, it is. But Tucker, that's the other thing that I think is beautiful in this deal, because unless you know what they do, how do you make any changes? You can't change.
How do you know what they're worth?
That's right.
You always feel like you're being shorted for your cattle that you don't know how they perform.
Yeah. You can't change what you don't measure, and that's the beauty in this is all that data is going to get it's going to go back. So,
and that's not something that happens. I mean that people don't. That data is just not shared freely in today's market.
It's not.
Right. In today's market, it's not. It's not like it's shared freely.
right.
And Blake, why do most packers not want to share the results back with the producer?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, the thing that's so exciting about this relationship that we're entering into is that traditionally, if we go back to the silos or the different segments of the industry, one succeeds at the expense of another, right?
Sadly.
And I think that, and I'm not saying that we're revolutionizing everything, because there's others who have done similar to what we're doing, but you're keeping your silos intact so that each segment does what they do best. But we're building bridges between the silos so that we can walk freely back and forth and work together and share profitabilities and share data and look at ultimately making a more consistent product. Because again, like I said earlier, at the end of the day, if we don't have a consumer that's willing to go to the grocery store and put this product in their cart, especially at the prices we're at today, and boy, don't we all wish they'd stay forever, but we know they're not, right?
That's fair.
But for now, the consumer is making an incredible investment and an incredible endorsement of what the U.S. beef industry is doing based on the way they're buying meat based on the price that it is. Mm-hmm. And so for us to be able to bring the different segments together, and ultimately if the packer knows what cattle do and don't share it, it gives them when there's plenty of supply, it gives them leverage to maybe be able to buy a set of cattle at the market that they know excels once they get them in the plant. And so right now, I mean, that's all everything's off. It's the pack, it's game on, right? I mean,
they're short of cattle.
The demand is there, and they've got to make sure they keep product in the plant.
Yep.
And there's obviously programs out there, too numerous to mention, that have packer relationships with feed yards and data flow back and forth. We're not changing or doing anything new there. But the ability for that data to get all the way back to the original cow-calf producer, that data flow, even if you're talking about a feed yard who's buying calves, it's no different than the packer that's buying fats, right? The feed yard buys cattle. And I'm generalizing here, so I don't want any hate mail, from any feed yard guys that are listening to Tucker's program, right? There are feed yard guys that have relationships with their cow-calf suppliers that are sharing data and providing information. But in a general, just an open, you go on any of the video sales or sale barn, and those cattle get bought, and that cow-calf producer never gets any feedback. No data, no information. Were the cattle healthy? Were they sick?
Very seldom.
Did they feed well? Did they feed bad? What kind of carcasses did they have? They had none of that. And that is the exciting part about this, is that we find...
Usually all they get is, if the cattle work for them, they come back and are interested again, and if they don't, they go somewhere else.
Right. And the producer has no
leverage,
understanding for why when they don't.
That's a good point. No,
that's right.
And to CJ's point, I mean, you can't make better what you don't know. All right? You got to draw a line in the sand and figure out where you're at. And if you're going to make improvements, and we have, I mean, the genetic advancement, especially that this group has made as a collective.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, commercial cow-calf producers that are investing their dollars in genetics that are coming out of the group of seed stock producers and RSAA, they are benefiting from all the hard work that these guys are doing, right? As a commercial cow-calf guy, and let's be honest, we've all got customers that look at our sale books and go, holy moly, what am I going to do with all of this information?
Right.
And the breed associations, bless their hearts, continue to pump out more EPDs, right? Now, obviously, the other thing and you'd mentioned that Leachman's is part of the system, or part of the group as RSAA.
That's right.
And the dollar profit data, obviously,
wonderful.
takes all of the information that we're gathering and boils it down into some indexes, in a fewer number of indexes that allow those commercial cow-calf producers to analyze all of the data in maybe a format that's not quite so cumbersome too.
And we can directly compare Red Angus and Black Angus and Sim Angus and all those genetics. Right. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to jump out on a limb here and say,
Uh-oh.
Oh, can I do that?
Here we go.
I long for the day that both colors of Angus work more together. I mean, to me, it makes 100% sense to do genetic evaluation for Red and Black Angus together, like every other country in the world, to do genetic evaluation. And man, I plead for the leaders in both these organizations to do that, to look at the synergies that can be gained by working together. But right now, Dollar Profit's the only game we have in town that can compare directly our Red Angus, our Black Red Angus, our Black Angus, and our Sim Angus all on the same base with the same metrics.
The other thing, and a little behind the scenes, in my opinion, with the Dollar Profit system is just the data that feeds that information, that creates the indexes, is extremely clean because of the size of the contemporaries that go into that. Virtually everybody that feeds data into that is feed efficiency testing. I mean, all of that information that a lot of times breed associations don't necessarily always get, or if they do get it, it's in multiple segments, it's smaller contemporaries, that kind of thing. Just have a lot of confidence in the data that goes into it.
Lots of confidence, absolutely.
Yeah.
And with that, we can get metrics on commercial females, CJ. That you know, the Blue Family Partnership has really hung your hat on selling superior commercial heifers, if I remember right.
Yeah. So we're a commercial cow-calf operation. We're not selling bulls today. We sell some bred heifers, sell commercial heifers, that kind of thing. But really how we got involved in the group, and I talked about the data, but that's going to be the data that we've created over the years. We're a little over 10 years into a progeny test work that we've done, a big progeny test that we've tested bulls that have come through the R.A. Brown system, tested bulls that ultimately become the herd sires that are creating a lot of these genetics. And so for our family, it's been great because we get access to some of those genetics we probably couldn't afford otherwise, right? But and we've tested those. And the big one obviously is carcass data and how those cattle close out. But we're also collecting everything a seed stock operation would, so heifer pregnancy information, that kind of thing. So a lot of maternal traits and a lot of that information is going into that. But recently, what we've done is we've put all of our commercial cows into dollar profit, and we've got enough pedigree on all those cows now that we've got a dollar profit index on every one of our individual commercial cows, which I think is pretty cool. It helps us pick our replacement females, that kind of thing, but have a lot of confidence in that. And so not only is our data historically have gone into the IGS database, which is Red Angus, that genetic evaluation. That data now is going to go into dollar profit too. So it just helps the predictability of everything that we do. So
all right, I want to put a promo out for October 7th, because October 7th we're going to have a public forum, and everybody's welcome to come, and we're going to talk about Ranchers Sustainable Angus, and we're going to talk about the ability to DNA test commercial heifers and get EPDs on your commercial heifers. I mean, that's unheard of. The ability to select your commercial heifers the way you've been selecting your bulls for so long, instead of the way our great-grandparents did by going, yeah, I think that looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the way we're having to select our heifers right now, until now with Inherit Select and that Zoetis, and that's who we're going to have here October the 7th. And we're going to talk with our buyers, Joel Jornigan and Whit West from Cobalt, that are going to be here as well. That's the day of our Angus female sale and horse sale, the day before our October bull sale. So mark your calendars for October 7th. We're going to have a big forum that day, and everybody's welcome to come learn more. But right now, we are ready to buy calves. So, all right, CJ, here's a question. I mean, we've got a website. But if somebody wants to buy calves, we've got somebody that wants to buy calves out of our cattle. If somebody wants to sell their calves and they're listening to this podcast, what steps do they need to take? Because we're ready to buy cattle today.
Well, Google Ranchers Sustainable Angus Alliance. There's phone numbers on there. We can get a hold of emails, get a hold of anybody from RSAA, get a hold of the Cobalt folks. As this continues to get word of mouth spreads, and hopefully we've got even better ways to get in contact with it. But today, that's how I would suggest that you do that. Call me. I'll not buy the cattle personally.
Call me
and call Donald.
We can put you in touch with the buyers.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, Cobalt's got buyers, and what Joel told me is, tell us how many you have, when you want to sell them. They will forward contract them. And here's what I had a guy ask me yesterday, Jay Evans with Bridwell Ranch. He said, well, how early would they forward contract? I'm like, how far out would they forward contract? And I said, I'm confident they would forward contract anything that's breathing.
Right.
Like calves born right now, they would forward contract for future delivery. I think it's a great time to be selling calves, and they're game to do that.
Absolutely.
In fact, Joel told me they had forward contracted calves that weren't even born yet.
Okay.
I don't know how much they want to do that, but if you've got calves for sale, you got calves on the ground, hey, give us a call and let us give us the opportunity to buy those calves. And we want to create a seamless supply chain and work together with you. But we know we've encouraged a lot of our customers through the years to use these great marketing centers, whether it's some of these really good sale barns that are really focused on customer service, whether it's Superior Livestock and Northern, all these video sales, and a lot of people have those great relationships there. We're not asking you to change those relationships because we'll buy those cattle from there. But I will say that Cobalt says you get more advantages if you become part of the team.
That's right.
and work and let's do this as a supply chain together.
Yep, we're still going to be there to bid on those cattle in
right.
the traditional way. We'd like an opportunity to be able to buy the cattle out of the country.
Yeah, right off the ranch.
Yeah, and then give that upside earning potential that you talked about, Donald, that we can get. So
That's huge.
yeah,
Big time.
Yeah.
Well, I want to move to one of my favorite segments
All right.
of the podcast. Been working on it for 4 years, and there's not really, I mean, there's some maybe one or two other similar programs like this, but it sounds difficult to put together. 4 years, lots of time, people coming from all across the country to gather together to make this happen. Welcome to the Bedrock Tough Question. Brought to you by Bedrock Truck Beds. They're the toughest truck beds that we know of, and that's why we use them at the ranch. So check out Bedrock Truck Beds if you need them at the ranch, at your place. What has been the toughest thing about putting this program together over the past 4 years? Question for all of you, probably.
All of us?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start. I think the fact that it's been 4 years, Tucker. I mean, I really, of course, I'm simple-minded. I think there's no reason why we can't have this done in 6 months, right, or 4 months, but it's been 4 years. And I think one of the challenges is just being able to get every one of those segments, those silos, and putting those pieces together. And then, we're working with big companies that the wheels turn just a little bit slower.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to, and so I think that's been one of the biggest challenges that I'd say we've had is just the pace that we've been able to put this together, and it's still not completely together yet.
Sure.
That's we're still working. That's the other thing. So that'd be my answer, Tucker.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's based on the experiences that I've had in this industry. There's value in supply chains, and there is immense challenges in supply chains, and the benefits definitely outweigh the downside, but it takes a lot of logistics, and then you have to find the right fit, the right partners. Because in this day and age, where we sit right now, there's every feed yard in the country that may be interested in a supply of cattle. There's every packer that would be interested in a consistent supply of cattle. And that's only because of the timing that we're in within the industry right now. So it seems like there's a lot of opportunities for partnerships, but I think sorting through those and trying to find the right fit has been and continues to be very, very important for the longevity of the program.
Agreed.
And I mean, right now, I mean, you take anything to the sale barn. I mean, hey, let's plug some bull sales coming up. I mean, y'all got old bulls out there. What are they worth?
Some of these old bulls are bringing.
I'm going to tell you that in my part of western Kansas, there's some old boys that have bought bulls from me that they may get more in the sale barn today than what they paid for that bull 6 or 7 years ago, right?
Exactly.
I mean, so there's an opportunity here, and I think that we are strategically bringing the right people around the table and have taken the time. Yes, 4 years is a long time, but the other way to look at that is in 4 years, we've had 4 calf crops, right? I mean, that's the other thing about the beef industry that is so, it's challenging in itself. I mean, you look at our competition in pork and chicken, and they can turn intervals, they can turn populations over quick, and they can change their supply quick. It's turning a motorboat and spinning a luxury liner. What we do in the industry, it takes a long time. Everything takes a long time. And to that point, our customers out there they have one shot to sell this year's calf crop, right? And if we can't work with them and get something put together, we're a whole nother year out before that opportunity comes again. So that's why, as we sit here at the middle of June, the first video sales are getting ready to launch, take off. Guys are talking about forward contracting. I think it's timely that we're getting this word out now that, hey, we are in business. We are open for business. We have the partner that's ready and willing to bring cattle into the system. And so we want to get this thing started off with a bang. And we want the commercial cow-calf producers that are buying genetics from the members of this RSAA group. We want them aware of what's going on, and before they make their final decisions, and as it was mentioned, even if you're consigned to Superior, please let us know.
Please.
We want to know lot numbers. We want to know days they're selling so that we can communicate that to Cobalt and our feeding partner, and then we will be there. We'll be active, and we'll be trying to bring those cattle into the system. And if you haven't made your final marketing plans yet, absolutely reach out to us because we want to work with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was talking to Casey Bright yesterday at Sanford Ranch and Reed Sivley. They were both videoing yesterday to go on Superior on July 7th. So we're going to plan on being there because, man, those cattle are good. Really good. Tucker, to answer your bedrock tough question of the day,
Yep.
I'm gonna go back and give a little bit of history and remembering the early months of 1997. In the early months of 1997, we had a wildfire at the ranch. And we were having to guard that wildfire 24 hours a day because conditions were volatile. And so Dad and I took the graveyard shift. And we were sitting there in the pickup, and we were just trying to dream up and dream as big as we could dream, as much as anything, just to keep our minds working and stay awake so we could do our job of babysitting that fire and put it out if it came back up. And in that, the idea of building an alliance started. And we started that alliance in 1997 with a group of commercial cow-calf producers and feed yards and a packing plant. And that program was called Ranchers Renaissance. And John Butler did a great job of leading our team. That program lasted 10 years. It made money for our commercial customers. But here's what we've learned. We learned in that one we did not have any genetic spec at all. There was no genetic specification. It was about having 52-week supply. This time, with having that genetic spec where we want these cattle to be half Angus of either or both colors, and we want them to be efficient and have that sustainability story, all a part of helping make the cattle more profitable and more desirable to the consumer. So those are things that we think is going to help give Ranchers Sustainable Angus Alliance, one, the ability to grow at scale as needed, to fill the supply chain, and to get to that final consumer. And to do that, I'm going to say the hardest part, to finally get to the answer to your question, to me the hardest part has been making an arrangement with the retailer. I mean, that's a group of people that I haven't associated with a lot. I mean, that's a silo so far away from the ranch that I haven't really gotten to know those people.
Yeah, there's not many bridges from that one to the seed stock guy.
Well, but we're going to build one.
Yeah.
And that's the exciting thing. And we're looking for those right retail partners where we can utilize as much of these high-quality carcasses as we can, and that utilization is key. But we want to build that relationship with them that is win-win. And like I say, allowing them to use our product and put their brand on it. So we're wanting to pick good guys because we don't want them to put any brand on our high-quality beef. But that's the hard part. Those are dots that we still have yet to connect. We're getting close. Gosh, CJ, we started over 2 years ago meeting with retailers. I told on a previous podcast where you and I went to the annual meat conference.
Yes.
Wow, what an amazing experience that was. And we're getting close to the end here. But, CJ, I'd love for you to share your thoughts of what that was like as a rancher to go to the American Meat Conference with all these people that process and market our product?
Well, for me, it just having not been there before, it was a lot like, we've got NCBA and we've got our convention in a way, the cattlemen do, and then you've got the annual meat conference where they've got their conference, and it's a little bit to the silos I was talking about. It's just like, man, and the two worlds are beginning to, you were seeing some ranchers there, and you're seeing some of that commingling, but.
Well, wait just a minute. You're right, we did see some ranchers. But we saw a lot of guys with cowboy hats on that I'm not sure would qualify as ranchers.
That's probably
trying to sell a rancher product.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one area where, I think we are the real deal that can tell the true story, and I think Tucker's a great one to help us tell that story.
Tucker is a great one to help tell that story, and you're right, we did see a lot of that. But I wasn't going to throw anybody under the bus.
No, not
I'm not running anybody down.
But hey,
to each his
it's
own.
the Yellowstone effect. I mean, they want to have what we have. We have the story
That's right.
to sell.
Yeah, that's right. And thankfully, we do have folks like Tucker that are good at telling the story. Because we're not all, I know sometimes I just want to, let me do my job and leave me alone kind of a deal, right? That's some of the mentality that exists.
Sure it does in our industry. I mean, we're more comfortable on the ranch than we are behind the mic.
That's right. Yeah. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Tucker.
Absolutely. Y'all, I just need a little piece of every sale, okay? That's all. That's all.
Name, image, and likeness, NIL, rights. Okay.
That's all I need. Well, man, what a pleasure it's been to have all of y'all on this podcast. This is probably the deepest we've ever dove into the cattle industry in general. But for those that aren't as involved in this side of the industry, there is a big I feel like there's a big difference between the beef industry and the cattle industry. And a lot of times they're not communicating. So y'all going to that, meat conference is not typical.
That's right.
In the ranching industry.
But I was really glad we were there. And I was really glad that Molly McAdams encouraged us to go there.
Sure.
Because, I mean, the price to go to that thing was unbelievable. I mean, it ain't for just anybody.
They're kind of proud of it.
They are very proud of it, and it was an
Kinda proud
amazing
of it.
conference. We got a lot done, talked to a lot of retailers.
We did.
And we've got some great things going with multiple retailers, and we're getting cattle on feed, and the good thing is we're at a good time in the market where we're going to get to that retailer, and we think it's going to be soon.
Yeah.
And Tucker, I'm going to go one more thing with your part of our family business, and that's using all that data that we've talked about, sharing back with the producers, and saying, okay, now let's look at your data. We were talking with Bo Poole last week. He sent us his carcass data on his cattle, and said, okay, now let's look at that. How can we help you select bulls, and how can we better breed bulls that fit what your cows have to fit the needs of what the consumer wants to buy?
That's right.
Just a snowball about to go down the hill.
That is it, and that's where I'm excited to shift your job responsibilities at the ranch a little bit to help be that customer service agent to not only help us share that information back, but to better utilize that information to be powerful in making decisions to help us improve profitability down the road.
Yeah, and one more time for folks who are wanting to sell their cattle or want to know more about Ranchers Sustainable Angus Alliance and how they can get a part of that, where do they go?
I'm going to say call Donald Brown, R.A. Brown Ranch or Tucker Brown. Go to our website. We can put you in touch with the buyers at Cobalt. Share with them. If you're using, here's the key, you got to be using our genetics.
Yep.
I mean, that's the thing. You need to be using our semen, using our bulls, using our commercial replacement females, because this is a program for our customers.
That's right.
And we're honored to help you, all of us that are part of this team, and look forward to a bright future.
And if you're you're like, man, I wish I had some of those bulls, where should they go?
Everybody but CJ's selling bulls, and CJ's selling a lot of commercial heifers. So go on our website. All of us have got our bull sales listed, and we can help you on those bull sales. Not a problem there.
Yep, October 8th, we're going to have the bull sale, but October 7th, they can hear more about Ranchers Sustainable Angus Alliance.
That's it, exactly. You got it. And meet directly with our buyers, face to face.
And that's a pretty cool opportunity.
Big time.
Hey, big stuff coming. Snowball's going down the hill.
Absolutely. Tucker, I've got a question for you.
Uh-oh.
As we wrap up, I want to know, Share with me, as now a father of 3 daughters with a new baby on the ground, what is your favorite Bible verse? No, what is your favorite Bible story? That's what would you share that with the group today?
Favorite Bible story?
You usually are the one that asks that question. I just
know.
couldn't help myself to jump in there, and because we need you to answer. What's your favorite Bible story?
I'm going to go with.
See, now
I go
look,
with-
guys,
can
look
I
at
go
him
with favorite
squirm
book?
over there because
Squirm,
usually he's
no.
the one asking this question, and we're squirming, going, "Oh, how do I answer that question?"
No, I'm gonna go with favorite book. How about that?
Okay, fair.
Favorite book in the Bible, because there's a lot of stories in the book that I do like, and Proverbs is probably where I've been at the most. I think Proverbs is really good for young folks who are like, it's full of wisdom that will help through life. I'm sure whatever stage of life, but I know it's been really helpful for me, and going through college, that's what we studied a lot, just because it had so much wisdom in what we were doing at that time in our part of life. And now as a girl dad, by the way, I need some advice, CJ, if you have any. We can talk after, but just some heads up would be cool of what's going to happen. So
I'll do my best.
okay, yeah, Proverbs is probably my favorite. There's just a lot about listening and asking for wisdom and finding the right mentors and all of those things that are so wise, that I believe to be wise. So yeah, Proverbs is my favorite. But my favorite verse in Proverbs
Yep.
Willie always likes to heckle me about it, because I actually heard it from Jameis Winston, who's a quarterback in the NFL. But he says the horse is prepared for the day of battle, but victory comes from the Lord. And so for me, it can mean a lot of different things anytime you read it. But in my point of life right now, it's like, hey, do my job and prepare my business, prepare my family for the day of battle. But at the end, it's the Lord that holds the end. And we already know what happens at the end. Like, Jesus wins.
Yeah, amen.
We already know the end story. Jesus wins. So that's a pretty good side to be on.
Yep.
That's a
Big
pretty good
time,
side to
big
be on.
time. And I'm going to throw in there Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way they shall go, and when they are older, they will not depart from that. And so I'm excited as you share those things and have your kids involved in our church, and having faith as such a key component of rearing those children. I'm really proud of you, son.
No, thank you. Thanks, Pops. I need more friends like y'all. You've been listening to the Registered Ranching Podcast. Thanks so much. If you have any questions, shoot us a DM on social media. Go to Wandering Angus. Go to R.A. Brown Ranch. Go to our Facebook pages. Anyway, there's a lot of ways to find us. And we'll point you in the right direction. Give the show a 5-star review if you haven't already. Really helps the show, gets the word out there. If you have any questions, give us a holler. But there's a few things you can't forget, folks. That's number 1, stay classy. Number 2, Willie, you got to yell it.
Ranch on.
I don't know if you heard it, but ranch on them. Stay classy and ranch on them. We love you, folks. God bless.